Hello YouTube, this is Shirley426, and today we have the review of the Robot Damashii Gundam F91 Evolution Spec version. So I think it was last year, or 2 years ago, I actually did review the Gundam F91 Robot Damashii figure, but that was the Premium Bandai version, which was the meat version, which was the basically clear version of the figure. So after I reviewed that figure, and then a few months later, they actually announced the Evolution Spec version, which I did not really know how to react to that. So at that point, they were already also making the Ver anime figures. So making another new Robot Damashii line was definitely interesting enough for me to try it out. So here we have the figure. And I can definitely see the biggest changes would be the scale. A lot of people would always, not scale, I would rather use the term size. Because a lot of people would tend to always ask, for those who are not used to Robot Damashii, would always ask, like, what's the scale of these figures? And I would like to repeat my answer over and over, that Robot Damashis do not have scale. They always go with a different size and different proportions, so they don't exactly have the same scale. Each mobile suit, each original mobile suit are always made different sizes. Like, for example, the sizes between an RX-78, Gundam F91, and the new Gundam, they're all different sizes in terms of the real mobile suit. So, and in the Robot Damashii figure form, they're all almost the same height, or somewhat. There is slightly a size difference, but yeah. So it's really hard to say that each Robot Damashii has the same scale going on here. And this one, I'm not going to bring out the old one I've reviewed, but I'm going to bring out the HUC version to give you guys an idea on the size difference. But before that, let's go over the components. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the Gundam F91 mobile suit itself. So definitely looking good, definitely new proportions, definitely has that Ver anime look. I think they are still going with the Ver anime style, but the Evolution Spec, I have a general idea of what they're going with, but I'll get into that later. So we have the basic mobile suit, we have all the cannons on the back, we have the fist hands right off the box, and here are some, actually let's go over here, for your typical components. So let's see what we got. First of all, as basics, we get the beam rifle for the F91. Nothing too special going on here. We have the front handle that can move. Very typical. And hand-wise, we technically get four sets of hands. So currently one of them is already on the figure, which is the fist hands. Then we get fully open hands for posing, a set of those, and a set of trigger finger hands. However, in this figure, they do not give you any multi-purpose hands. So these are the hands that you'll be using both the beam saber and the beam rifle as well, which I find a little bit odd, but okay. Because for those who see my Ver anime reviews, is that they always have like 10 to 12 hands at maximum, so they will give you a hand rack. But this one, that's not the case. And here we have another hand, which is basically the spinning beam saber effect part hand. So they actually give you these round effect parts here. So you have one round one here, and here's the one that how it should look like when it's attached to the hand. So off the box, these hands and effect parts will be separated, but you have to basically reattach them like this. So you get the general idea how they work. So I'm going to put those away. Now, the old figure, they did give you a spinning hand, but the effect part was not exactly what you think. It was basically a clear, round plastic piece, which technically at the time I thought it was okay, but now looking at this definitely looks much more better. And let's see what we got. So here we have an action-based connector here, which connects to the bottom of the waist. And this thing, once it goes in, it's not really easy to pull it out. So be careful. But you're gonna pretty much need this for this figure, because I'll get into that later as well. And here we have the fins that are supposed to pop out from the shoulders. So these are pretty, I think they definitely got larger, and they definitely look better than the old ones as well. And just in case if you're wondering, yes, on the inside of the shoulders there is a smaller, folded up version going on in there. So yeah, you're gonna have to pull that out as well. Luckily they're on pegs, so they can be detached pretty easily. So I can just detach that very easily. So no need to worry about that. Okay, and then here we have the beam bazooka going on here. One of the very unique looking beam bazookas. Yes, the handle does move forward and backward. And other than that, I don't think there's any other piece that could fall off. And here we have the alternative head, which is basically the opened up head with the definitely, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this design, but I know there are people out there who really likes this design as well. So usually in the mobile suit would have a gimmick where you can swap where you open up the head and then, you know, swap out the face gimmick. But in this case, they just give you a whole entire new head, so less troublesome in swapping the heads out compared to, you know, swapping parts. All right. And then here we have some other stuff. So here we have the beam shield, nothing too special going on here, very typical thing at this point. And then we have a connector here. Once again, the beam shield itself and the connector will be separated, so you're gonna have to, you know, reassemble them. And then we get two beam saber hilts and effect parts. So in the box they'll come out as these, but don't worry, you can actually detach these as well, because if I remember correctly, there were some old Robot Damashii figures that would come, they would give you beam sabers like this, and they won't be separate. You're not able to separate them, but this one you can separate, so no need to worry. Okay, so let's get into the review. So let's see what we got. So I'm pretty sure right off the bat, once again, for those who are always asking for scales, here we have the HTUC version, and here we have the Evolution Spec version. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not. I totally understand why people are asking about scales, but sometimes it's really hard to just give you an answer regarding that. So here's a visual representation what I mean. So here is the HTUC version, which is supposedly and technically the 1:144 scale kit of the F91. And here is the Evolution Spec. You can definitely tell there's a huge size difference. So once again, yeah. And regarding the Evolution Spec, now currently we only have two, the F91 and the Crossbone Gundam X1. So depending on, I don't think we've heard a third version yet. So if the third version is also like a small mobile suit, like the Victory Gundam or Crossbone Gundam X2, then that's pretty much clear that what they're going for. So the Evolution Spec could be based on mobile suits that were originally small and they're making it bigger. But of course that really depends. Or if the third one is suddenly a totally different random mobile suit, like the once again like the RX-78, then yeah, we have no idea what they're going with. But once again, I do still think regarding the figure itself, the overall looks and details seems like they're still going with the Ver Anime. And I hope they keep continuing that, because I really love the Ver Anime line. Alright, so let's see what we got. So the head, very clean sculpt going on here. I don't think there's any problems with the head sculpt or design here. I sometimes hear some, oops, yeah, that's one of the biggest problems I'm having with this figure is the feet. So I did review the old Robot Damashii Crossbone Gundam X3, and the major problem with that is the feet. The front part of the feet just moves way too easily, and yeah, they still brought back, oops, yeah, and mine could be a bit defective, because the way how mine came is that the left leg side moves a little bit too easily compared to the right one. But still, I don't know why they kept this feet, because this was one of the biggest problems that the Robot Damashii Crossbone Gundam, or basically this, like that line had, and I don't know why they kept the feet. And the joints, I would have preferred the old traditional style, you know, for anime, where there's a spring inside and you can push it in so it can fold up more. But yeah, it's definitely something I was not looking forward to. But yeah, because of that, making this figure stand on its own is slightly difficult than you think, because the cannons on the back are also very heavy. I'll get into the cannons later. So yeah, which is why an action base is definitely essential. Alright, so going back to the head, let's look at the head articulation. So the head can go down that much, and then, well, not too much as you think, because the peg is actually making it go back up. So making it look down, it's not going to be easy. For some reason, you can see there's not only there's the neck joint, but there's also the bottom section that moves like this. And then up, not so much, but you get the general idea going on here. So yeah. And then let's look at the main bodies here. So the main body definitely has a lot of articulation. So we have a nice ab crunch going on here. 360 twist, I'm not going to say it's possible. I mean, I can kind of force it, but this is as far as I can go at the moment. Actually, yeah, this here. And if I force it a little bit more, yeah. So this is as far as I can force it, because now this part is kind of colliding with certain parts. But once again, there is a way to go over it, and I hope I'm not breaking anything. And 360 is possible, but once again, I don't think it's really necessary for a mobile to move 360 like that. And then we do have a side-to-side movement, but that's because of the overall joint connection in the body. So yeah. And that's pretty much it for the body itself. Now before we go to the back, let's look at the shoulders. The shoulders do have a nice forward and backward shoulder movement going on here, so no need to worry about that. The arms can go about 90 degrees to the side, and 360 twist is possible. And what I've noticed is that, now this isn't my first time seeing this happen, but this is the first time that that I can actually detach the arms really easily like this. You are able to detach the arms, so that's one interesting aspect. I figured that out as well. And then other than that, we do still have a 360 twist on the entire arm as well, and another 360 twist on the lower arm as well, and we get a nice bend going on here. It's actually double jointed, but still the way how the overall design is and the way how it bends, it may not give you that impression, but still it works, and we get your typical robot Damashii hands where the ball joint is on the arm and the hand only has the hole. Alright, I'm just going to leave it right, like here for now, just to give you guys an idea on how the backpack works. So, not exactly the backpack, we still have this nice detail going on the back. Now, the VSBR cannons, usually you would expect them to be lined up straight on the back, but no, these are actually kind of looking like wings to the point, so they're not exactly vertical straight, they're actually kind of on the side part. That's because the joints here, there is a ball joint right over here, and it's actually on an angle, which is why we have some limitations on how much we can bend towards the booster on the back. So this may kind of look, so this was definitely one of those things that I was not expecting, and definitely had a different impression on me. But once you get used to it, you get used to it. But once again, looking right at the front, it may look slightly awkward because of the positions here. And the way how they move are pretty much the same what you expect. They have a sliding gimmick right over here, and once you have it in front, you can pull this section out, and then we can pull out the handle, and then you can pull out the front fin as well. Oops, wrong way. Yeah, you can pull them out as usual, so that's pretty good. And since the cannon is on a ball joint, you are able to move them, you are able to rotate it if you want to do so as well. But once again, since the ball joint is on an angle, it's definitely much more difficult or more trickier to deal with. Okay, now let's go to the waist. The waist section. This section here is supposed to be the section where they store the beam sabers, and they did actually include that small detail. So even in the manual, they tell you to, oh, if you want to do that, scene where he's pulling out the beam saber, you can just pull it out and replug it in like this, and you got the beam saber effect part there. Or pulling out effect part. And on the other side, yes, this actually does open up, and you can actually see the extra shield generator right over there. Now this thing is able to come out, but once again, it's not that easy. But once again, once you get it in, once you get it out, it's out. And this is actually very different. This is actually a different size. It's much more thinner compared to the one that's on the arm that I just pulled out. So here is the thing here. So this is the one that you can pull out, and definitely you cannot attach this one to the arm because this one actually has a peg here. This one is just flat. So yeah, but still, it's a nice effect that it's a nice, small detail that they included onto the figure. So I'm actually really happy with that because I believe the old one didn't have too much detail compared to this one. Now the front skirts. Now the front skirts were definitely one of those parts that easily popped out. But once again, this is a pretty common thing in the robot Damashii line these days. So they don't really move that much because once again, the ball joint here is actually in a very awkward angle to the point where it's not really easy to move. And once again, every time I move, it's actually colliding with the main body here. But the side skirts can move a lot than you think, and the back skirts also move a lot, so no need to worry. And yes, they still have a part where you can store in the beam bazooka. They just gotta keep that as well. So that's pretty much it for the skirts. And now for the legs, once again, we get a nice side swivel going on here. Give me a moment. And we do have this gimmick where you can reposition the legs in any position you want to do so. So if you think the legs are too short, you can always pull them out to make them look even longer. So really up to you. And then let's see. There we go. So once I have everything straightened out, now you can move the front skirt a little bit to the front, but still not really easy. And for the legs, we have a nice double jointed bend going on here, and I am not a fan of this joint because once again, the Crossbone X3 Royal Damashii I used to have, these joints weren't that great. I just want to mention that. So nice bend, and then once again we have this floppy front feet, which I really don't like. I really don't understand why they kept this going on here. They could have just used the same stuff as they were doing with the Anime line, but no. And yeah, we have a typical ankle guard, and the back part right over here, you can also flip these sections up to give out that extra boosting effect part. So that's actually a very good detail going on here, because if I remember correctly, I think the old figure, I might need to recheck that, but depending on the figure or product you have, they would give you just swapping parts for here, but this one they just actually open up by themselves, so that's a very good detail. Okay, so we've seen the basics of the figure. I'll be right back with some demonstrations with its equipment. Okay, I'm back. So currently I have the spinning beam saber effect parts on each arm, and then I actually wanted to see if I can store the bazooka while doing this, and it's technically possible. Sure, it does get slightly in the way, so but just wanted to mention that you are able to do this while having these effect parts. So let me just get those out, and once again, the bazooka actually does clip onto that part, so no need to worry about being it loose. But once again, once you have everything in place, you can actually get some amazing effect parts with this. Actually, regarding the F91, the old robot Damashii, the main reason I actually got the old one was because of the spinning effect part, and this one looks even more amazing than I expected. So once again, really cool effect part going on here. So that's pretty much it for this effect. So there is actually a left and right for these hands, so do check the manual because they do tell you which one is which. So yeah. But I don't think it really should matter, and despite how, now you shouldn't have any problems with the right arm, but if you remember, the left arm actually has that shield generator going on here. So, but despite that, you actually have these gaps going on here, so you shouldn't have any problems plugging the hands inside there. Alright, so we've seen that, so I'll be right back with the second demonstration with the equipment. Okay, I'm back with something basic. So currently I gave it the beam bazooka on the right arm and then the shield on the left arm. But then again, when you think about it, there's no way to actually attach the shield onto the right arm. But either way, it works pretty well. Holding the bazooka is no problem at all, but when it comes to holding the beam sabers and the beam rifle, it may be a little bit jonky with that hand. But I'll show you guys on the next demonstration. And the shield, since it is on the ball joint here, you are able to rotate it around. But once again, having the fins together with the shield is not going to be easy because they will collide. So if you want to have the fins out, so you're going to have to like lift up the shoulders a lot like this. So it may look awkward at that point. Alright, so now I'll be back with one of the more tricky parts going on here with the beam sabers and the beam rifle, because those may feel awkward to some people. Okay, here is the beam saber and the beam rifle. So one thing you need to know regarding the beam saber is that once you have it in the hand, you can actually plug it in the hand pretty easily. But once you just have it in there, it's just really wobbly going on here. So you need to make sure that the hand, that you need to like push it towards the finger so it actually starts wrapping it around. Oh boy. But once again, it's a really awkward position, but once you actually get in, you can get that feeling where it actually like clips into the hand now, so now it won't be any wobbly anymore. So that's one thing. And then the beam rifle is just overall just janky going on here. I've done multiple things and now I think I got into position, but still it's kind of on the wobbly side going on here. So you can see that the rifle is, despite the trigger finger in the trigger hole, it's still not that great of a connection going on here. So I think the beam rifle is like the most least interesting weapon in the figure, if you ask me. So in time to time, depending on the pose, it might feel like the beam rifle is like dropping a little bit towards the front. So just keep in mind that, yeah, it doesn't have the best grip for the beam rifle unless you like push it into forwards like that. Okay, so I think there's only one thing left to do, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the VSBR cannons. So once again, they're not easy to attach to the hands. Like I'm pretty sure, like up to this point, most products of F91s, attaching the hands to the cannons were always difficult. Like the HUC version was tricky. The previous Royal Damashii version was tricky. The Master Grade version was tricky. Most of them are always tricky. So once again, what I like to do is basically you flip up the cannons forward, and then you attach the hand first to the handle, and then you attach the hand to the arm. So that's the most easiest way to go with. And I attach the fins once more, and I give it the alternative head going on here because once again, it doesn't really. I personally don't like that design, but still I'm pretty sure there are people out there who likes that design as well. So once again, if you got everything right, it should be connected pretty well. But because of the way how the cannons are located and connected, it's really hard to get a straight hold up of the cannon. So you can always, so every time I try to do this, they're always not like on an angle like this. But still, it works. And that's pretty much it for the review. So this was the review of the Evolution Spec version of the Gundam F91 of the Robot Damashii line. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.